What is going on, NFL Draft and New York Jet fans? I am so excited because today is Thursday, round one of the 2024 NFL Draft. So I figured what better way to celebrate than giving you my final first round mock draft predictions, not just for the New York Jets. Yes, we're a Jets channel, so that's the most important thing that we talk about and that we cover. But I want to give a full first round mock draft for the NFL. Let's do it. Let's hop right into it. This is going to be not as much as what I would do, more predictive. So take that with however you want to take it. I was going to say take it with a grain of salt, but take it however you want to take it. So, all right, this first pick seems like it's going to be pretty chalky. Caleb Williams to the Chicago Bears. Feel like that one's been kind of locked in for a while here. And yes, I'm going to do trades in this. We'll do a decent amount. I'm not going to go buck wild with trades, but we'll do a decent amount of trades. I also think that Jaden Daniels is going to be the pick here for Washington. I prefer Drake May over Jaden Daniels, but I think Jaden's going to end up being the pick in Washington. So quarterback. What does New England do? That is going to be a really interesting thing to look at if as a main turning point here. Does New England trade out? These next three teams, New England, Arizona, and the Los Angeles Chargers, are all three teams that could end up trading out. I think they're going to stick and pick Drake May. There's been a lot of rumblings that they like both May and J.J. McCarthy, and I think with May still being there at pick 3, I think they're going to take him. All right, Arizona trading out. I feel like this one's been talked about a ton, whether they're going to trade out or not. They do have a lot of picks in this draft because they moved around the board a lot last year. I'm going to have them stick and pick and take Marvin Harrison Jr. They could really use a weapon in that offense. And I'm going to instead have the Chargers trade out because I think that that's a team that's going to look to trade out. Potentially, they could go offensive line as well. They need a receiver, but I think the Vikings are going to be the team that ends up moving up here. So we're going to have to force this trade more than likely, but 11 and 23 for 5, I think is fair on the draft tech value chart. It should be enough to get you up there. Maybe they have to throw something else in, but anyway, let's get this on the clock. They jump in front of the Giants. Giants are upset because they lose out on J.J. McCarthy, who goes to a really good situation. I think JJ is someone who's going to have to go to a good situation to have success. So the Giants lose out on the top 4 quarterbacks. Their consolation prize is an elite weapon in Malik Nabers. All right, this pick's also pretty easy for the Tennessee Titans. Joe Alt, best weapon or best offensive lineman rather on the clock over weapon. They signed Calvin Ridley to big money. I think they're going to wait on that. So we'll go Joe Alt here at 7. At 8, I think this is where we see the first defensive player come off the board. And I do think Dallas Turner ends up being the first player off the board. Look for Atlanta could be a team that looks to trade out. I'm not going to have them trade out in this one, but it's still definitely a possibility. Now, a lot of people have the Bears sticking and picking and taking Rome Odunze. They only have 4 picks in this draft class. I think they could look to move back a little bit. And the trade partner that I think makes the most sense is the Indianapolis Colts at 15. So do something like 15 and 46 for 9. We'll force this trade. And I have Indy trading up to take Brock Bowers right in front of the Jets. There's been some rumblings with Indy being interested in moving up for Brock Bowers. I think that would be a really interesting weapon for their young quarterback. And I could totally see them doing that. But the Jets, I think, are going to be pretty happy if this scenario plays out because that means Rome Odunze falls in their lap. No reason to get cute. No reason to go any other direction, not trading back, not taking an offensive lineman. In this spot, if this is how the board falls, which is what I'm predicting, then Rome Odunze is going to be the pick there for the New York Jets at pick number 10. 11, okay, so the Chargers now on the clock after a trade down, and this is where I think we see J.C. Latham come off the board. I think Latham fits what Harbaugh is going to be looking to do there. I know they need a receiver really, really badly, but I think they're going to wait on wide receiver and go in the trenches, and Latham plugging in at right tackle to pair with Slater. That could be a really, really dynamic 1-2 punch. Now, Denver, I think, like, weird spot because they have the Raiders right behind them who they kind of need a quarterback, but I think they're going to take a risk and trade back with Jacksonville, I'll say. So we'll do 17 and 48 for 12. We'll force this trade to go through. Reason why I have Jacksonville moving up, I think they need a corner, and they're going to come up for the best corner in the draft class, Quinyon Mitchell, in this spot. I don't think he makes it too much further than just outside the top 10. I think someone's going to move up for him. And you would think, okay, well, quarterback, is Bo Nix going to be the pick for the Raiders? No, I don't think Bo Nix ends up being the pick here. Instead, I think they go offensive tackle and take Talisi Fuanga, who is going to plug right in at right tackle after they lost Jermaine Illuminor to the New York Giants. The Saints desperately need offensive line help. In particular, they need a left tackle because Trevor Penning is horrific. The best left tackle available at this point is Olu Fashanu. I like Fautanu because of his versatility, but for the Saints' need at left tackle, I'm going to give them Olu in this spot. All right, so Bears move back. Are they going to go with the wide receiver here, or are they going to go a different spot? I think this is where I'm going to have them find a edge partner for Montez Sweat. That's really what their defense is lacking. Their defense got better down the stretch last year, but they need to take it to another level. I'll say they wait on wide receiver and take swings in the second round. Instead, add a playmaker to the defensive line. Jared Verse is going to come off the board there. At 16, this is where I like Troy Fautanu to go. Washington staying out there, going to Seattle, not having to go too far. I'm sure they've seen a lot of them. I know there's like a slight injury red flag popped up, but I don't think it's going to affect his drop too far. He goes 16 off the board. And Denver, guess what? They move back, but they're still going to get Bo Nix here. There you go. Congratulations. They get Bo Nix. I don't really love him as a prospect, but their current quarterback room of Zach Wilson, Ben DiNucci, and Jared Stidham does not leave a warm and fuzzy feeling for me. So they move back and get more capital, also take a swing at a very boring quarterback prospect. Okay, here I think is where we see an interior defensive lineman come off the board. Take your pick between Newton and Byron Murphy. I like Byron Murphy more, so that's where I'm going to have Cincinnati go, fill out the interior of that defensive line. As for the Los Angeles Rams, another prospect just staying out in UCLA to LA, Laiatu Latu. Good edge rusher. I think he's going to end up being a top 20 pick. Him and Verse, I think, are in that very similar tier for me. Both really good players and good prospects. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, man, I have a really hard time with them because I go back and forth between wide receiver, tackle, and center in Jackson Powers Johnson. In this mock, I think I'm going to go Amarius Mims to Pittsburgh, and they have the Georgia boys then, Broderick Jones and Amarius Mims on that offensive line. Okay, I'm going to have Miami trade back because I have a team interested in trading up. It's not the Bucks, Bills, Ravens, or Chiefs. Instead, I have the Green Bay Packers moving up. They want to get in front of Philly because of the direction that Philly is going to want to go in this draft. So we'll say 25 and, I don't know, something like 91 should be enough to get that one done. And Green Bay is going to trade up for Cooper DeJean. Can play him at corner, can play him at safety. Just they need help on their defenses, especially in the DB room. Wherever you want to play Cooper DeJean, they need more there. And clearly Philadelphia is going to be looking for corner help, I think, anyway. So we'll go DeJean here. And then coming off the board is Terrion Arnold, cornerback out of Alabama. Nate Wiggins is also a popular mock in that spot, but that's not where I'm going to have him go. Arnold, I think, is a better player, but with how the board broke in this one, didn't really have a team that needed a corner in that spot, so he falls into the 20s. Okay, at 23, I think the Chargers made out pretty well. Yes, they had an opportunity where they could have taken Malik Neighbors. Instead, they trade back. They get an offensive lineman, and they're still going to get a wide receiver, and they're going to get a burner in Brian Thomas Jr. I think, him with Herbert could be a whole lot of fun trying to push the ball down the field there. All right. Another team that I kind of go back and forth on position, I think I definitely want to go offensive line, but I think this is where I'm going to go center instead of tackle. Yes, they just lost Tyron Smith in free agency, but they also lost Tyler Biadasz in free agency, and I think Jackson Powers-Johnson is a really underrated player from this draft. He deserves to go in the first round. I think this is the spot where he ends up coming off the board. All right, so Miami moves back, and they still end up in a pretty good spot because they're going to land Graham Barton, who can play tackle or guard, and both positions a need for the Miami Dolphins after they lost some pieces on the offensive line. Graham Barton filling in, and again, he could play guard, he could play tackle. Maybe you lost Robert Hunt, big money in free agency. And I think Barton is someone who could fill a need there. I'm going to say for the Bucks, I really wanted to go defensive player here, but they also have a really, really big need on the offensive line. They could use center and guard help. So I'm going to go to Zach Frazier sneaking his way into the back half of the first round. Really solid player. I think this is where he goes off the board. Arizona picked 27. They took an elite level wide receiver. They're going to add really good value here in Newton on the interior of their defensive line. They could also go edge, but I like the value on the interior of the defensive line there for them. And they didn't have to trade up, but Buffalo still gets a really good receiver in A.D. Mitchell. They lost Gabe Davis. They traded away Stephon Diggs. They need help at wide receiver. I like A.D. Mitchell the best. I know Xavier Worthy, someone who's very, very popular because of his speed. I don't think he goes in the first round, spoiler, but A.D. Mitchell off the board at 28. Man, okay, for the Detroit Lions, kind of could use another edge rusher to pair with Aiden Hutchinson, but I love the value of Nate Wiggins there for them. They could also use corner help, so let's put Nate Wiggins off the board at 29. At pick number 30 for the Baltimore Ravens, I think this is where we're going to see Chop Robinson go. They lost Jadeveon Clowney. They could also use offensive line help. Lost John Simpson and Morgan Moses to the New York Jets, but Chop Robinson's going to go at 30. I think here is where we could see Tyler Guyton at the back half of the first round to the San Francisco 49ers. Sure, there's someone who could maybe go corner as well. Maybe they go interior defensive line. But I like Tyler Guyton at the back end of the first round there. And for the Kansas City Chiefs, my guy, Ladd McConkey, sneaks his way into the back of the first round. So here we go. Let's take a look at the results and my draft. So we'll start at the top. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Marvin Harrison Jr., J.J. McCarthy in the trade up, Malik Neighbors for the Giants, Joe Alt to Tennessee, Dallas Turner, first defensive player off the board. Trade up for Brock Bowers, Rome Odunze there for the Jets at 10, J.C. Latham, Quinyon Mitchell, Talisi Fuanga off the board to the Raiders, Fashanu, Verse, and Fatanu to round out the top half of the first round, Verse to Chicago, Fatanu to the Seattle Seahawks. The Broncos, they still get Bo Nix, but in a trade down, pick up more capital. Byron Murphy, 18 to Cincinnati. Rams get an edge rusher. Then you get Amarius Mims to the Steelers. Packers trade up for Cooper DeJean. Arnold goes next to the Eagles. Brian Thomas Jr. to the Chargers. Jackson Powers-Johnson to the Dallas Cowboys. Starting a run of offensive linemen as Barton and Frazier go next. Newton, Mitchell, Wiggins off the board at 27, 28, 29. And then rounding out the first round, Chop Robinson, Tyler Guyton, and Ladd McConkey. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. I'm Matt O'Leary. Catch you guys next time.